This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter, welcoming you to another sports catastrophe on this day. We're on this day, July the 28th. I knew I wouldn't forget. I know that Kenny Rogers threw his perfect game on this date in 1994. But I also knew there was another perfect game thrown on July 28th, 1991, 31 years ago, for the kind of defunct Montreal Expos, if you will. It just depends on your POV. But anyway, Dennis Martinez was a pitcher for the Montreal Expos. He used to play for Baltimore, but unfortunately he was plagued by alcoholism and all that. He was actually introduced to drinking when he was 17, when he actually was nervous about pitching for scouts at the Junior World Series for Nicaragua, but there was a lot of problems and all that. He would always drink on road trips, but not in front of his family. Basically, he decided to go into rehab. But the strangest thing was that his dedication to sobriety actually cost him dearly. He wasn't pitching as well. But the Orioles lost patience and decided to trade him to Montreal for a player to be named later. Pedro was really a relief pitcher, and then, he had some issues and all that. He entered free agency before the 87 season. No one picked him because of the collusion, and he pitched for the minimum. So he had to start all the way down in Class A, moving to Europe with the Expos in June of 87. Dennis Martinez would make his first opening day start for the Expos in 1988, but he got shelled by the Mets, who basically teed him off for home run after home run after home run. Dennis Martinez seemed to be doing okay and all that. His 91 season started as the opening day starter for the Expos again, pitching against the Pirates, and helped the Expos win 7-0. It was his only opening day win with the Expos. So, in July of 91, he had some good feelings about it. So, unfortunately, he was shelled in the All-Star game in Toronto, which I already did a video about this month. Martinez would pitch the third and fourth innings for the NL and gave up that big home run to Cal Ripken Jr. as the American League won 4-2. However, Dennis Martinez would come into Los Angeles looking high and all that. Before I talk about the perfect game, I gotta also talk about his career afterwards. He pitched his last season for the Expos was 93. People thought he was part of the 94 Expos team to, get screwed over for the World Series, but that's wrong. He almost went to Atlanta and all of that. The Expos put him on waivers. Atlanta, San Fran, and Philly had him. Well, Atlanta knew they had to, only because San Fran was aiming for Martinez and aiming for the NL West match. The Expos were willing to let him go to the Braves if they included a player they wanted in order to give him Martinez. But he used his 10-5 rights privilege because he was around for 10 years, and with 5 of the same team, he was allowed to veto a trade, and he vetoed it. The Expos almost won the NL East, losing by 3 games to Philly. He would pitch for Cleveland in 1994. He would go to Cleveland and would actually be the starting pitcher for the first game ever at Jacobs Field in Cleveland. The Indians would win in the 10th inning, but he got a no decision. He pitched pretty well. In 95, he was part of the Cleveland team that went to the World Series and lost to the Braves in 6. After 96, basically, his career seemed to be done. But he did sign with Seattle as a free agent and went 1-5 with them. And he would pitch for Atlanta, coming to the Braves 5 years after he should have been. He was 4-6. He actually made some appearances for the Braves in the NLCS and actually won Game 4 against the Padres. He decided to retire, being one of the best Latin American pitchers of all time. So anyway, the 1991 game on a Sunday afternoon on TSN was huge. Dennis Martinez would face the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. Martinez's perfect game was the first by a pitcher born outside of the United States. The only other one, Felix Hernandez in 2012. The Dodgers would actually be the first team to be on the losing end of consecutive perfect games, as they lost to the last perfect game before Dennis Martinez, Tom Brown, in 1988. The Tampa Bay Rays basically would join them too. They lost to Mark Burley's perfect game in 2009, and then Dallas Braden's perfect game for the A's in 2010. This was the fourth and final no-hitter in Montreal history before they went to Washington. Bill Stoneman pitched two in 1969. In fact, in the ninth game in team history, 1970 and 72, and then Charlie Lee in 1981. So the franchise would move to Washington, and they didn't have a no-hitter until 2014. So anyway, the Expos were not having a good campaign. They were 42 and 55 heading to this game. The Dodgers were 56 and 40. So the Dodgers were aiming for the NL West crown. And no, they didn't win the NL West crown. That was Atlanta. So anyway, Montreal was struggling. And a lot of people said Olympic Stadium crumbled in 91. Yes, but that was in September of 91. So this was beforehand. Montreal was pathetic. Mark Gardner had no-hit the Dodgers through 9 innings of the Friday game, but lost it in the 10th inning and eventually the game. The Expos would have been the first team ever to throw a perfect game and a no-hitter in the same series, and would have joined the 1917 Browns as the only teams to throw 2 no-hitters in the same series, because 2 Browns pitchers, Ernie Coop and Bob Groom, no-hit the White Sox. But the White Sox had the last laugh as they won the World Championship. That was the 1917 one, the non-tainted one. So the Expos not only lost out on Mark Gardner's no-hitter, they actually hadn't scored a run for the first 26 innings of their 3-game set in Los Angeles. I think. Or is it 25? Well, anyway. Yeah, it was 10 innings in the first game. They didn't get a run in the 9-inning game 2. And then it was 6 runs. So Montreal and LA took on each other. We'll get the box score for this so we can analyze it. So the Expos starting lineup was Delano Shields at second base. Ironically, he would be a Dodger in 94 when the Dodgers needed a second baseman and decided to trade this guy named Pedro Martinez away. Marcus Grissom in center field. Dave Martinez in right. If memory serves me right, Dave Martinez is Washington's manager right now. Ivan Calderon in left field. Tim Wallach at third. Larry Walker at first. Yes, Larry Walker was the first baseman at one time. The Canadian. Ron Hassey at catcher, the veteran. Spike Owen at shortstop. And of course, Dennis Martinez pitching. The Dodgers starting lineup was Brett Butler in center field. Juan Samuel at second base, although he would be better known for with the Phillies. And a former Blue Jay, too. Eddie Murray at first base, which was weird, because Murray seemed to be a lifer for the Orioles, but no, he was a Dodger. Joe Strawberry in right field. Cal Daniels in left field. Lanny Harris at third. Mike Scioscia at catcher. Alfredo Griffin, former Blue Jay, at shortstop. And Mike Morgan pitching for what seemed to be his, 8th or 9th team or something like that. So anyway, the Expos and the Dodgers were fighting tooth and nail in the perfect game. Obviously, in a perfect game, nobody came on base. So the Dodgers seemed to have troubles with Dennis Martinez somehow. All that. But here's the funny thing. Mike Morgan actually was perfect through 5 innings himself. So basically, that was the only time in history that 2 pitchers went through 5 innings of perfect ball. In the 6th, Ron Hassey would break up Morgan's perfect game with a single to center field. Still wouldn't be enough to do anything. They did get a run to second, but Marcus Grissom ground out. Dodgers didn't do anything in the sixth, and then the seventh inning, things were huge. Dave Martinez was on second base when Larry Walker hit a triple to the left field corner, scoring the run to make it 1-0. And then Ron Hassey came on an error by Griffin, who was trying to throw for a double, but he botched it. Walker scored, and Hassey went to first base. Those were the only 2 runs of the game for the Expos. Dodgers in the seventh set Butler, Samuel, and Murray up. Butler hit a pop foul ball. Juan Samuel tried to bunt his way on, but Larry Walker managed to tag the bag in front of Samuel, and Eddie Murray grounded out 4-3. The Dodgers would use Strawberry, Daniels, and Harris to try to ruin Dennis Martinez's thing. Strawberry grounded out 4-3. Daniels swung and missed, and Lenny Harris grounded out. So the bottom of the ninth happened. Mike Scioscia comes up first and hits a fly ball to left field, caught. Griffin gets pinch hit forward by Stan Javier. On a 2-2 pitch, he struck out swinging. And then Chris Quinn, Tony's brother, pinch hits for Mike Morgan. And he flies one to center field, cut by Grissom. And we cannot forget the famous line by Dave Van Horn, El Presidente, El Perfecto. And the Expos won the game 2-0. The Expos, of course, would have troubles when their stadium collapsed in 91. They did remodel it, and it did help the Expos do better in 92, but not really that much. So anyway, Dodger Stadium became the first stadium to have 2 perfect games in it. The first one was Koufax's perfect game for the Dodgers in 65. Yankee Stadium, Oakland Coliseum, and Safeco Field in Seattle would join them. Ron Hassey was technically Dennis Martinez's exclusive catcher for the Expos. So Hassey actually was the guy behind the plate for Len Barker's perfect game for Cleveland against Toronto in 81. Making him the only catcher to have 2 perfect games, to have caught 2 perfect games. And poor Alfredo Griffin, he actually was in his 3rd perfect game. It was in his 3rd perfect game, and all were losses. He was on the losing end of when Len Barker did it to the Jays in 81, and also was part of the Dodger team in 88 that lost to Tom Brown's perfect game. But 4 Tampa Bay Rays would share that record. Evan Longoria, Carlos Pena, BJ Upton, and Benny Zobrist, who were on the losing end of Mark Burley's perfect game in 2009, Dallas Braden's perfect game in 2010, and also Felix Hernandez in 2012. So yeah, that's weird. All these stats are going by your head at 100 miles per hour. But yeah, it was shocking. And 1991 was a year of no-hitters, like 6 or 7 of them. So yeah, it was just magic in the air for the Expos. Dennis Martinez would kind of be a decent pitcher after 91, but, for one day, he put a perfect game on the Dodgers and helped the Braves get to the NL West crown. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.